How do you know you're being overcharged by a home improvement contractor? And what should their bid or proposal look like in order for you to have the most transparency? Well, I pulled up with one of the nation's most conscientious home improvement contractors, and we're going to talk about it on this episode of the Renovation Rundown. My name is Sean Thompson. And this is the Renovation Rundown. Okay, so look, Frank, I haven't spoken to you in quite a bit here, but I love when you and I get to catch up because we get to explore sort of the customer home improvement contractor relationship, what constitutes a fair exchange. And, I'm not simply talking about money, although that's a big part of it. I'm also talking about the respect for the service from the customer side too. So I like that we get to have that conversation. But first, let's tell everyone here kind of who you are and what you do. And, I'll let you intro yourself here.
Thanks, Sean. It is always good to see you. And I just wish I was as dapper as you were, like on a daily basis. You walk the walk, but you definitely look the part. For your audience, my name is Frank Coppola. I am the owner of Coppola Brothers, LLC. We are a marquee residential historic remodeler, and we also do some light commercial. I call it complex commercial, be it a brewery or a salt float center or a crazy restaurant. We like anything that's hard. We are in 4 states, Vermont, New Jersey, North Carolina, and Florida, and our big claim to fame is we are a certified Florida master builder. And a fun fact I found out last weekend, there's only 31 certified master builders in the entire state. So I can hang my coat on that pretty well.
Well, there's a lot of business to be had in that market. So, to be of 31 in that category, I imagine is a really good thing.
It is great. It was not an overnight success, 20 years of working and just trying to improve our game. And I think that's why you and I enjoy these deep dives, because you have this, I think the public misconception of how things are done, it isn't the way it's supposed to be done. Just because a lot of people are doing it that way doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. And look, my motivation was I just saw all my friends and family getting just hurt by contractors, and I just did not want to be like that. So we kept stepping up our game and providing more service, and we went from in the beginning, I think everybody starts out as like price based, and now we're a full-blown service company.
So let's back up a little bit, because I build this particular show with you as sort of a tutorial on the contractor bid. How do I know, it's being priced right as the customer, and I think that, the last 18, 24 months or so have added a lot of complexity to that. All right. So, and I'll jump into the first question that I really wanted to discuss with you. And that is this, and you maybe can tell us, but, this idea that we've seen raw material costs on construction projects go through the roof. And now that we're starting to hear that potentially material costs like lumber are starting to come back down, customers are asking the question, well, how do I know I'm not getting gouged now? How do I know, that I'm not overpaying for this job? And I said this to you the other day on the phone is, you take any customer, and no matter what number you give them for the job, they're still going to, hope that they can find it cheaper elsewhere. No one is satisfied and knows that you're giving them a great deal right off the bat. But I really want to talk through this sort of material cost line, and it really plays into how should the bid, be put together, how should it be organized, how do you know when you're not being gouged? Is there such a thing?
Sure. There's a lot to unpack right there. Let's take it. The very first thing that I think everybody needs to be prepared for is just sticker shock. look, I've been doing this for 20 years. We look at prices every day. I still get prices come back and have sticker shock myself. So yes, plywood, hit the stratosphere, came back down, but now OSB board is hitting the stratosphere. So plywood's just one component of, I think the average house has 20,000 SKUs in it. So yes, the headline in the industry is lumber prices are coming back down, and every politician likes to grandstand because that's because of what we did. Great.
Yeah.
Go to Costco and buy a roll of paper towels, and there's shrinkflation because there's less sheets of paper towels in the roll, and the price has gone up as well. So it's across the board. So I think sticker shock is something that everybody has to brace themselves and then dig to the next level. Okay, what is the next level? You had said it before. Look, there's not just price, there's the scope of work.
Mm-hmm.
What am I paying for? Okay.
So let's jettison over to the look of the document that the contractor gives you, right? That always becomes a thing. How is it worded? How is it being scripted? We both know that the days of just saying kitchen $80,000 are gone, right? So, how should a contractor bid be formatted so that I get the most transparency as the customer?
Yeah, and that's you are so right. What a great way to start this question. Yeah, in the old days, it was one line and one number. The more sophisticated the contractor, the more detailed the contract's going to be. It's that simple. Okay, we're a certified or a validated contractor by 7 different banks. So, our prospectus can go as deep as somebody wants. I mean, I've never priced it out by nail, but you're paying for that with a marquee contract.
I've seen a couple of 28-page bids priced out by the nail before. Yeah.
Right. So, I think to your audience, the key thing is ask for more detail. And if the answer comes back and it doesn't pass the smell test, there's a problem. There's a problem. If you feel like you're being sold smoke and mirrors, chances are you're being sold smoke and mirrors.
Right. Go ahead. Yeah, no, go ahead.
So an allowance schedule, like if you're going to protect yourself, that could be the homeowner or contract with an allowance, that's fine, but know the detail associated with it. So, we've normally with framing, we would include in the framing line, lumber and materials. Now we break it out. The labor is not going to change, but the materials are, and we'll just show what the materials are based on, or we'll pin it to a cost factor based on the price of 2x4s at $8 a 2x4. So there's some metric that you can relate to. The takeaway from this is, if you don't understand it, ask. So many people just get stuck in the going, well, they're afraid to ask, or the contractor, gave them a hard time. Well, then they're not your contractor.
And it's difficult to compare what you're getting from, if you shop contractors, one contractor to the next, because everyone has their own way of sort of talking about the project that they want to do for you, and how they want to price it. It can be, 2 different languages, right? So I say this all the time, is that we see in my world, because we are teeing up the contractor, and we do have to have a decent amount of clarity to the bid so we can get the house appraised properly, so we know what we're underwriting, right? Because based on the after improved value, we're sort of managing the money and divvying out as the work goes. We got to have a clear picture of what the bid is, right? And you'd be surprised, well, probably not you, as to some of the garbage that I get coming in the door, and what it looks like. I might even put one up on the screen right now and show you what a kind of contractors. We get them and they look like they're on greasy pizza receipts, and it's got like 2 or 3 lines, and that's it. And then we go back to the contract and say, can you break this out in material and labor for us? And can you give a little more detail? Because it just says, paint $8,000, paint what, right? And your numbers don't line up because contractors are extraordinarily bad at math for some reason, so the numbers don't line up. So we do that a
scope of
lot,
work is so important. The description of scope of work is so important. If you have a line that just says paint with a price,
Yep.
you're in trouble. It could be the best price ever, and you're in trouble. How many coats? What's the paint? It's just that deeper dive. Not to get off topic, but what the number one thing the mistake that people make is they just don't do their homework with the contractor.
Yep.
You get a reference list. Rarely do people call the folks on the reference list.
You're 100% right there.
You gotta do your homework, and the reference list shouldn't just be other customers. It should be their vendors. Talk to their plumber, talk to their lumber yard. I mean, make 4 phone calls and find out. Listen.
And even in asking for such a thing, you may weed out the contractor who doesn't want to give you that, and therefore doesn't want to participate, right? And consider yourself lucky, for coming across that person who's going to go, you know what, you want references for me? Well, never mind then, right? So right. Let me move to, because that sets the stage. What does the bid look like? What is it being formatted like? And now that you have all this transparency, if you do it right, then the customer is always privy to markup, right? So, is there such a thing? Maybe it's the third rail of contractor bids. Is there such a thing as an acceptable, agreeable, fair markup for material and labor?
I'd say there's a misconception out there that it's 20% profit and overhead. Insurance companies like to use that. Mm-hmm. If there is no successful contractor that is working on that margin, nobody. They're going to be out of business with just the overhead expense in the construction business for insurance. You're beat if you do that. So, if you're doing a large multi-million-dollar project, your builder might do it cost plus. Then that margin, you would get a lower profit and overhead margin. If you're doing a multi-million-dollar project, I'm not saying a $2 million project is going to be 20%, but that's the hard part. And that's one of the reasons why there is this shell game with contractors, is because there's this public misconception that they should only be making X, and they hide stuff. A successful contractor is going to be transparent enough to show you what they're doing. They might not do open book, okay? But they're going to be transparent enough that you're going to understand that they're not. This is the key takeaway. Manufacturing an excuse to make up poor estimating.
So when you see those materials were $10,000, and then the markup cost is $12,000, and the customer's complaining that you're charging me for this much when it only costs you this much to buy it. It's kind of like what we talked about before, right? Is there has to be an understanding from the customer side as to what an acceptable profit margin is, in order for both people to play in this space.
I have my favorite.
The contractor isn't doing the work for free, and nor should you expect him to do so.
I have my favorite analogy. Okay. You walk into a restaurant, and it's a nice restaurant, and you got linen napkins on your lap, and you see the menu, and the asparagus is $12. And you go, asparagus is $12. It costs $1.50 in the store. You're in the wrong restaurant. It's not the restaurant's fault. You're in the wrong restaurant. Right. And a lot of people want linen napkins, but they want to pay for paper napkins. So there's got to be a match. There's got to be a match between what the homeowner's expectation is and what the contractor's delivering. When those match, when that value proposition is there, look, a linen napkin grade contractor, if the steak comes in and it's not cooked right, no problem, no questions, they make it right. Right? That's what you're paying for, is that level of service. And I think that's where the disparity is. You're not sitting here going to the restaurant going, hey, what's the markup on asparagus these days? because you know what the level of service is. So I think the picture has to be equal across the board, and I know we're running out of time. I would like to make one other really strong point.
Take as much time as you want.
It's like the common sense thing, right? If it doesn't pass the smell test, yeah, then there's a reason for it. But on the payment schedule, it's got to work for both parties. You shouldn't be expected to put $50,000 down on a $150,000 project, and the contractor shouldn't be expected to be out $50,000 at the end of the project. A successful payment plan is a bell curve. Starts off slow, ramps up as the project's going, and whatever's, my rule of thumb is the first payment asked for from the contractor or from the homeowner to the contractor should be same as the last payment. Because in the beginning, the risk is all on the builder or is all on the homeowner. Are they going to show up? And the risk at the end is all on the contractor. So just to touch upon that, like, be really leery of that. If this isn't a restaurant where you finish the work and then pay at the end. And it's also, it should not be you pay everything up front and then pray that the contractor showed up. You got to be really, both sides have to be very disciplined in that. And then that doesn't become an issue. But that's the second biggest thing that I hear from people.
I think the money up front before the work is done does create some tension in the beginning of the project that can get a little unruly from the customer side, right? I do recognize that there is a necessity for it, but I'm glad
to an extent.
Sure. Yeah. And so another thing I wanted to really talk about really quickly is the contractor special skill or design, or there's something about this particular contractor that separates him from other people. There's some value there, right? So you're getting a contractor who is also really good at design and offers you really good color and palette choices and material choices, where you have another contractor who goes, I'm just good at putting this stuff in, man. You pick whatever you want. And, so which one's more valuable to you, right? And sometimes we need to recognize when we have the contractor who's bringing way more than just a handyman skill, to the table, and we pay extra for that. So I wonder what your thoughts are on.
Yeah, I mean, you said it before with, even you who deals with qualified contractors all the time. How do you compare one to another? You're right. One might be like just super talented, and if there's a detailed set of architectural prints, he or she will follow them to the letter. Other ones can take a sketch on a graph paper and fill in the blanks. It's this. I'll go back to the restaurant. There's some restaurants that are serving it on fine china and the food is really good. And there's other restaurants that the food's not as good, but you get a lot of it. So how do you compare? What's the best value? It's got to be a good match. Not everybody is everybody's cup of tea, and there's nothing wrong with interviewing multiple contractors. That doesn't mean you have to go out and get necessarily bids from multiple contractors, but I think you kind of have to think of what you want.
When you are interviewing multiple contractors, you should be mindful to make sure you're talking about the same project, because you'll get one contractor to talk to you about doing this, and another contractor in his wording is talking about doing something completely different, and you're comparing the two numbers as if they should be the same.
Yeah, right? Think about what you want. I mean,
that's the narrative. That's getting a good narrative down first. That's getting a good. So you brought it up earlier, and we'll end with this. You brought it up earlier, and that is, I want to get involved. And you and I could tell this story all day long, but we get folks that come to us and ask us to simplify the pricing dynamic. In other words, I want to do 3 floors in my house, a 12 by 12 kitchen, and 18 windows. How much? Right? And then you tell them after you do the homework on it, and they're sticker shock. What can we do to help people avoid sticker shock? Right? You should have. I don't know. I don't know if that's a relevant question, right? Because if you don't know how much a Cadillac Escalade costs, and you're going to walk in and think you're buying one for 40 grand, it's not going to happen.
I have the answer. Turn off the TV. Okay? Turn off the TV, first of all. Watching any of these shows, look, there's a reason that there are 4 channels dedicated to home improvement. There's a reason that they show a dream kitchen costs $22,000 or a dream. I mean, that's to get you to watch it, because you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, look at this beautiful bathroom. And they did it for
You're not insinuating those prices are unrealistic, are you?
Yeah, right. Well, it's okay. We have X-ray vision and we can fly in our company. It's that's number one. Number two is, look, every single town has the X Township Moms Club or the business network in town. If you want to do a project, go on that town and say, what did you pay at the end of the day for your bathroom? Go into the chat room or call a friend. I'm sure you know somebody that had finished a kitchen renovation. What did you pay at the end of the day? Everybody knows somebody that did some work in real life, in 3D, not on TV, not on Zoom. That's where I would start. Not what is it? What do you think this will cost? Start asking the questions, what did that cost? There's millions and millions of construction projects going on every day that are completed every single day. It's not a heavy lift to find something similar to what you're doing and get a real number from it.
In other words, don't just put blinders on and hope you hear the number you want to hear. Get out, ask questions, do the hard work it takes to find out how much these projects run before you start pricing your own project. So sticker shock isn't a thing and you're not wasting a professional's time. All right.
You will get run over by willful blindness.
Yes. And Frank I really love getting to catch up with you, and we're always doing it in somewhat of a professional setting and not so much, personally. We need to fix that too.
Sounds good. I look
thanks for coming, and you always give good advice to our customers, our sales folks, and anyone that watches the show. And you're clearly a leader in your field, and are doing all the right things. And the fact that you do a lot of business, the way you described you do it earlier on, is testament to how good you guys are. So I appreciate you coming.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much.
On the show.
I appreciate it. I hope it helps. And anytime.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
Take
care.
Sir.
Yep.